Take a look at this article that came out June 26, 2016. FEMA contractor predicts social unrest caused by 395% food price spikes. The U.S. national security industry is planning for the impact of an unprecedented global food crisis lasting as long as a decade, according to reports by a government contractor. The studies published by CNA Corporation in December 2015, unreported until now, describe a detailed simulation of a protracted global food crisis from 2020 to 2030. You'll see in this report that it talks about the studies, and it does come with a video. And before you watch the video, let me show you the comparison of what Jesus Christ warned about things that were going to take place in the last days compared to this food chain reaction, this report that is mentioned in this report talking about the food going up 395%. Now keep in mind, in Matthew chapter 24, as you can see from the arrows, the Lord talks about this kingdom against kingdom. That would be the civil unrest in the individual nations. He also points out famines, pestilence. In the book of Revelation, as you could see from the top from chapter 7 and chapter 16, Jesus talks about the hunger that will become and the thirst and the scorching heat, which brings us starvation and droughts. Also, we know from the book of Revelation there's going to be some massive climate changes, and we're already seeing the birth pangs of those. So watch this report, the food chain reaction report, and see what they say, because they're saying the identical things that Jesus warned us about almost 2,000 years ago, pointing to the fact that we are definitely in those birth pangs that Jesus alluded to.
There are significant risks as we look at the problems we face with regard to food security, especially going forward. Some of the most complicated and some of the most extraordinary challenges that the world has faced in all of its history.
Food chain reaction is an effort to put some of the major actors on this planet who have to deal with a global food crisis.
Food chain reaction was really to create these scenarios based on scenarios that have happened in the past, but how do countries respond to them?
We had 8 teams. We had 4 rounds spanning from 2020 to 2030.
Our real hope was that we would get players from all around the world to elevate a more global conversation among all of those different worldwide experts.
The game itself created an opportunity to live into the future. It caused people to think through what the possibilities are, and in that process, I think they realized what they have to start to do today to prepare for their future.
The challenges and crises that we were assigned are exactly what we expect to see in the future. So you've got famine, you've got increased pests, you've got the role of climate change in the world.
It's a world where it's getting hotter and it's getting drier. We're also seeing increased social unrest because of the volatility in the food system.
Food prices are going up 400%. We've got a flood of migrants coming in. The world is starting to fall apart.
Everything we do is going to have some negative effect.
We are going to have a pretty hard world to live in.
The new normal is volatility.
The world needs stronger cooperation to meet the challenges that the future will throw at it.
As the momentum's build up, there's more of a sense of countries stepping up to support other countries. If that could be the new normal, it would really be a game changer.
International cooperation on these kinds of issues is much more possible than people might think.
The world can get it right. The simulation showed us that we really need to get ahead of the curve.
For the last couple days, we've learned that alone we can't do it, but together we have all the confidence that this is a problem that we can solve.
Now, getting back to the article, it says the simulation titled Food Chain Reaction was a desktop gaming exercise involving the participations of 65 officials from the U.S., Europe, Africa, India, Brazil, and key multilateral and intergovernmental institutions. The scenario, which we'll come back to in a second, for the food chain reaction simulation was created by experts brought in from the State Department, the World Bank, and agribusiness giant Cargill, along with independent specialists. CNA Corp's Institute for Public Research, which ran the simulation, primarily provides scientific research services. for the Department of Homeland Security and the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Now, just like the studies video that I showed you, the exact warnings that Jesus gave, they were the exact outcome of what this study showed us. Now let's go to the scenario. Climate, conflict, and global food systems. This is what they found in their scenario. Keep in mind the scriptures that I just gave to you about the warnings that Jesus gave to us. This scenario says the year is 2020 and the world's food system is under increasingly stress. Extreme weather and political conflict are undermining food production and creating shortages. Prices are skyrocketing, social unrest is growing, populations are at risk. How will the world respond? Anyone who has read the Bible and the predictions that were given to us by Jesus know these are, in fact, the very situations that are going to take place in the last days. So both what the studies and the scenario predicts is again identical to what Jesus says this world will face in the last days. And as I said earlier in this video, we are in the midst of those birth pangs right now. Continuing on with this report, you'll see a picture of President Barack Hussein Obama dealing with this issue that's coming up. It says by 2024, the scenario saw global food prices spike by as much as 395% due to the prolonged crop failures in key food basket regions, driven largely by climate change, oil price spikes, and confused responses from the international community. Disruptions affected developed and developing countries alike, creating political and economic instability and contributing to, now get this, social unrest, exactly what Jesus said was going to happen in certain areas. The project's technical report states. Now, for the past 8 years, since I've opened up my prophecy website, I've taken the words of Jesus Christ and I've shown the people watching my videos that according to what the Lord said, you can predict that every single year the food prices are going to skyrocket. And that's exactly what's taken place. While I've been giving the prediction of what's going to happen based on the words of Jesus Christ, you continually read reports like the one that I'm just showing you, showing us that in the near future we could have food prices rise as high as 395%, giving us the exact conditions that will be seen during the tribulation period. What other evidence do you need to see that Jesus has given you the truth about the future?